Good morning. Well, this is early, isn't it? This is unexpected. Unexpected pleasure to come and see you guys. If there's anybody out there at this early hour in the morning. And I'm just getting a notification from Facebook for some reason saying it's not going to show on Facebook, which is fine, which is okay. It doesn't need to go on Facebook. We're going on YouTube and we are also going across to Twitter. I might even take Twitter off actually. And let's just do this one on. Oh no, actually, let's put Twitter back on anyway. But yeah, so I don't normally go live at this time in the morning in the UK. It is what time is it? 9:05 a.m. So it's a bit of an early start. I don't know where you are. Anybody who's watching this, and if you're watching on the replay, thanks for watching on the replay. Much appreciated. But yeah, I thought I would come on. And the reason is I've been quite inspired by some of the rants that James Tusk has been doing. Actually, at around this time, he was just on earlier. And I saw him on earlier. I was doing a bit of a workout. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go on as well. And I'm going to do a bit of a morning motivation rant. And the other reason is that after this, I'm actually going out into central London to meet up with James. And we're going to be training some guys. So we're going to be working with some guys today and over the next few days. And that's going to be cool. That's going to be really exciting. It's been something we've been planning for a while. We've got a great group of guys, and we're going to be training them in confidence and social skills and motivation and so on and so forth. And just from a kind of selfish perspective, if you like, although hopefully I'll give out some value to somebody watching this as I do it. But just from a selfish perspective, for me, how do you get into that social mood? How do you become that on guy who's ready to socialize as soon as he steps out the house? Well, it's tricky, isn't it? I mean, listen, I got up quite early this morning, woke up a little bit before the alarm, still a bit tired, drinking my morning tea, etc. And in a minute, I have to go out and meet up with Tusk and also a bunch of guys that I'd never met before. And I've got to be social with those guys. And so how do you get into the vibe of doing that? How do you get into the mood of doing that? Well, from a selfish perspective, from my point of view, one way of doing that is to do a live stream because speaking to camera and having actually people listening to it at the same time. Not there's many people, but there is a few of you on. So good morning to those who are here. Thank you for tuning in. It really helps. It really, really helps to get your tongue moving, get yourself into that social mood, get yourself so that you've broken that barrier of have I spoken today? Have I opened my mouth and said something in a manner that makes sense today? Okay. Now, obviously, I appreciate that for everybody watching this, you're not perhaps going to be doing live streams because it's not your thing. You're not keen. Ian's saying, morning, got an exam, but jumping in quickly. Have a great day. And he is saying, Troy using us all as a warm-up set. Amazing. Yes, I absolutely am. Thanks, Ian. All of you. Pop Molly. That is one option. I don't know if that's your real picture, man, but that is a bloody awesome haircut if it is. And he says for sure as well. Yeah, so you've got to be switched on. You've got to be in that social mood. And one way of doing it, which I concede is not open to everybody, is doing a live stream. Because although I'm just sitting here in a room and I'm looking at a camera and I can't see any of you guys watching this or anybody who watches it later, just opening my mouth and talking and having to put sentences together helps to get the motor running. It helps to get the engine running. And so now when I go out into the street, when I go to meet Tusk and I go to meet the other guys, I'm going to be more switched on than I would have been otherwise. Okay, so it's all good, right? But as I say, this is not something that you're necessarily going to do. Nevertheless, you need to think about warm-ups. You need to think about getting into that social mood, because if you're seeking to improve your dating life, if you want to meet more women, if you want to meet more people in general, then you've got to break out of being in your head. You've got to break out of, I'm stuck in my head, I'm feeling a bit rusty, I don't want to open my mouth, I kind of don't know what to say, all right? How do you do that? The way to do it, and really, this is almost a circular argument, because the way to do it is to be social all the time. But the end goal that you want to get to is also to be social all the time. Do you understand what I mean? So the way to get to being social all the time is being social all the time, but that is also your end goal. Because if you're somebody who is social all the time, then you are somebody who's going to be meeting a lot of people, bringing a lot of new people into your life. Some of them beautiful women, and that's going to be great, but also just friends and connections and people that you network with, and so on and so forth. So you need to push yourself to become social all the time. Now, for some people, apparently, that's not a very difficult thing to do. For some people, being social all the time just comes naturally to them. That's just how they are. That's just what they're into. Okay? They're extroverts. And if you're an extrovert and you're watching this, then congratulations, because I'm not saying it's perfect to be an extrovert, but in many ways, extroverts have advantages in life and in society. It certainly gets you more quickly to a position where you can influence people, right? Because influence comes through your ability to command attention socially. And if you're an extrovert, that's just going to be much more in your ballpark, right? Now, if you're someone like me, I am fundamentally an introvert. So the idea of going out into the city, meeting a bunch of people that I'd never met before, although they're all great guys, and I am looking forward to it. But at the same time, the idea of meeting a bunch of people that I'd never met before is not something, it's not something that I just jump out of bed like, whoa, that's amazing. It's something that I think, oh shit, how am I going to come, am I going to come across all right? What if they don't think I'm cool? What if they think this? What if they think that? All right, whatever. So for me, and I would guess many people watching this or who will come to watch this later on the replay, maybe it's not something that comes naturally to you. And I've told my backstory many times on these shows before. I've talked about how I was incredibly shy, introverted, not low self-esteem, actual dislike of myself, actual self-hatred I had, as a kid, as a youngster. So, and I couldn't even hold eye contact with somebody. There was a point when I couldn't even hold eye contact with a guy, let alone with an attractive girl. And that was perhaps at the height when I had really bad skin, all of that adolescent sort of angst and existential trauma. Found it really hard to socialize with people, particularly people that I thought were cool, particularly people I thought were high value. So the people that I did socialize with, and you see this happening when you're at school, in high school, whatever, I socialize with the nerds pretty much, with the geeks, or the sort of the oddball, the outsider type characters. Anybody who was a bit cool, anybody who seemed to be a bit higher in the pecking order, like somebody like a Tusk, for example, although let's let him speak for himself about what he was like at school. But you know what I mean? Anybody who was a bit cool, who I considered to be up there in terms of the pecking order, I found it really, really hard to socialize with. Now, fast forward many years, and it is many years because, guys, I'm not getting any younger. I'm in my 40s now. I am able to socialize pretty well with people that I consider to be high value. So an example might be somebody like Tristan Tate, for example, who is a high value guy. He's a multimillionaire. He travels extensively. He's used to a very high end kind of existence. Obviously, has many girlfriends and friends and all the rest of it. And I am now able, I think, to hold my own in a one-on-one, or even if there's other people there, with somebody like him. Also, famous people, celebrities. There are some people that I know, and I'm able to sit with them, to have a breakfast with them or a meal with them, have a conversation, and not be fazed, and to hold my own in that interaction. Also, just people who have that natural charisma. Like, for example, yesterday, I went up to meet with a friend of mine for breakfast, and there was somebody else there who he works with. And this guy is just one of those people. He's got that natural charisma. He's just got that. I don't know if it's natural. I don't know if it was learned, but he's a very socially dominant sort of person. And in the past, because I've known these guys for many years, in the past, I found this guy a little bit intimidating to deal with. Okay. I found him, sometimes you meet those people and they've got that just that super dominant personality and they don't suffer fools gladly. And in the past, I found him quite hard to deal with. Today, I can hold my own. I can get on with him. I can have a joke with him and it's cool. Also with attractive women. And of course, this is the key thing that people are coming to this content for usually. Attractive women. There's a very beautiful girl. She's standing in front of you. You've got to have a conversation with her. But it's intimidating because you feel like she's sort of above you in the pecking order, or at least you intuit that she is somewhat high in the hierarchy because of her beauty and maybe some other stuff. Maybe she's got an Instagram following or a YouTube following or whatever. And that can feel intimidating, having to sit in front of that person, talk and to actually make sense, okay? Today, I can say that I'm able to do that. Now, it doesn't mean that I never feel nervous. It doesn't mean that I never feel less than or even a little bit intimidated by the other person. It doesn't mean that I don't have those feelings, although I have them far less than I used to have them. But it does mean that I've learned the skills to be able to act in a manner that overrides that. And that really is akin to what I was talking about with James the other day when we did a stream together, which is that your feelings are usually not correct. The way that you feel about a particular situation or about having to do a particular thing is often not useful to you. Okay, so you might be in the bar and you might see that beautiful girl over the other side of the bar. She's going to order a drink and she's away from her friends. This is a window of opportunity. You could go to speak to her, but you hold back because you feel intimidated by the prospect of doing that. Okay? And you need to get to that position where, okay, you may feel that way, but you know in your mind and in your heart that that feeling is, first of all, it's an illusion because it's just something that you've chemically created in your mind. It's not a real entity. And secondly, that feeling is not going to serve you. So what you need to get into the habit of doing is acting in spite of your feelings. Okay? What have we got here in the chat? Troy, listening to some techno whilst I study. Has anyone said you bear some resemblance to Marcel Detman? Any relation? No relation. But does he plays a Berghain, doesn't he? I think in Berlin. But no, I'll have to check out a picture of him. I'm sure he's obviously incredibly genetically blessed guy. I was just listening to a bit of drum and bass actually before. Never been a massive drum and bass fan. In all the years I've been into electronic music, never really got on board with drum and bass. But it was a bit weird because I just heard some the other day. I was in a shop or something, or going past a shop, heard some drum and bass. I thought, you know what? That sounds pretty cool. And I put on a playlist this morning on Spotify, and yeah, it's maybe I could get on board. I don't know. It's the playlist I'm listening to. It's quite modern stuff, and some of it is a little bit. I mean, Camel Fat's on there and things like this, so it's quite mainstream. But it's quite up sort of music. It's sort of getting me into the mood to go out and socialize. And that, by the way, guys, is another thing. You can use music. You can use music in order to get yourself into the mood. So there's various things you can do. Because, so here's the thing, right? As I say, and circling back to the beginning, even doing a stream like this helps me to get more into that introverted mood, simply because even though I can't see anybody who's watching the stream, and there are a few of you out there, so thank you for joining me. I know this is an unusual time. Even though I can't see anybody, I am still conversing. I am still having to speak. I am still having to talk in a way that makes sense over a period of time. I've been talking for nearly 15 minutes now, pretty much continuously without a break. And I hope that it's made some sense. I think it has. But that's a skill that you can learn. It's certainly not a skill that I was blessed with when I was born. You know, it's certainly not a skill that I had naturally. Now, before this morning, I was listening to a presenter on the radio. Now, I sometimes listen to phone-in talk radio stations, and there's a guy who presents early in the morning, and I quite like his stuff. And I was listening to this guy, and this guy talks for 3 hours. He has a radio show, doesn't even take any callers, and he talks for 3 hours continuously. Okay, he'll read comments, like we'll read comments here coming into the stream. He'll read emails and tweets and things. But basically, it's just him talking for 3 hours. And it occurred to me, what a talent that guy has. And he's been doing it for years. He's been doing it for, like, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years, whatever, a long time. But what a talent that is, to be able to just talk and to make sense and to be entertaining enough to be paid for it for that amount of time. Fantastic. And I'm in awe of people like that. There you go, faltering on my words, you see. I don't consider myself in any way to be on that level. But I'm certainly getting better. And people who followed my stuff since I've been doing YouTube for the last year, a couple of years, whatever. In fact, if you just went back and looked at some of the older videos, I'm certain that you would see an incremental improvement. Now, and if I was rusty, if I'm bad now, then, and I don't make an excuse for it, but that is to some degree because I'm not a natural at this stuff, right? You know, this is something that I've had to learn. But I am testament to the fact that it is learnable. Now, of course, when I go out into the dating marketplace, when I go out to socialize, I'm not going to sit there and do a half-hour monologue like this, because that would be pretty weird and I'd probably lose a lot of friends. But just the art of practice, just the act of practicing this stuff, talking to the camera, doing live streams, doing recorded videos, doing podcasts, helps me, because it warms me up and it gets me talking, and it gets me used to talking and being able to think on the fly of the next thing to say. And this is, of course, the difficulty, isn't it, for many of us? What is the next thing I'm going to say? How do I link this? How do I move on from this? And look, before you think, well, all right, Troy, it's great for you to say that because you're doing these live streams. I'm not doing live streams, so how do I benefit from this? I'll tell you something. It doesn't actually always translate into helping you socially, because, as I say, this is very different to a social situation. When you meet a new person, you're not just going to go into some monologue, and you don't have a platform in this way where I could just say, right, today we're going to talk about how to do X, Y, Z. So, and I think actually, Jesus. So somebody here is saying, get some sleep, Troy. Well, I can't get some sleep, Juan, because I'm in London and it's now 9:23. So unfortunately, I would love to go back to bed. I'm sure it would be great to have a nap and whatever, but I can't because it's 9:23 a.m. and in a little while I've got to go out into the city. I've got to meet James Tusk. I've got to meet these guys that we're training, and yeah, got a full day of work ahead, which is going to be awesome. So no going to bed for me for a little while, I'm afraid, but thank you for the concern. Ian says, yes, he does play Berghain, was going out with Nina Kravitz. I thought that was the guy. Now, Nina Kravitz, would you? She was pretty attractive. She still is pretty attractive, isn't she? Russian, of course. I actually met Nina Kravitz once a few years ago. I didn't do any fantastic game or anything. You will be disappointed to know, but I met her because I am friends with a lady who promotes DJs, and she was doing a lot of work in Ibiza. She lives in America now. She lives in New York, but she was doing a lot of work in Ibiza, coming over, being in Ibiza for the summer, working with DJs. And she had connections she worked with, in fact, she actually worked as part of the DC-10 team. So if people know about Ibiza, you know about the club scene there, you will perhaps know the club DC10 and their party Circo Loco. So this lady that I know worked with Circo Loco. And so I was able to get into the party for free. I was able to go into the VIP area backstage and hang out with all the cool people and all the rest of it, which is pretty cool. And let's hope Ibiza is back on this year. I'm not quite clear on what's happening this year yet, but fingers crossed it's back on. Anyway, so one time Nina Kravitz was playing, and I actually got to meet her at the end of the session. And she was very lovely. But she did look a little bit fatigued, probably like I do now, because she'd been up all night playing banging techno to a bunch of sweaty people. But yeah, Nina Kravitz, very attractive lady and a very, very good DJ as well. So, but there's a lot actually now attractive female DJs. Because I follow a couple of people on Instagram. There's a lady called Amelie Lenz who is also pretty attractive. And I think perhaps because I'm following them, I get suggested more people. And then, and there's a lot of women doing it now, which is all to the good. LBC, Steve Allen on LBC, I'm talking about, who is kind of entertaining. Ian clarifies, no, it was Ben Clock with Nina K. We'd all enjoy a Troy Francis Stream of Consciousness 3-hour Kerouac-esque live stream. I think they're kind of a bit like that anyway, aren't they? They're not quite 3 hour long, but they are getting like that. I mean, like I say, I really like what Tusk is doing with the format at the moment, because I actually introduced Tusk to StreamYard, which is the platform that I use, and it's the platform that the Rule Zero guys use. It's actually the platform that Fresh and Fit use. It's just a streaming platform that you go to YouTube through, but you can put it out to other platforms as well. Anyway, so I just introduced it to Tusk because I wanted to do a show with him, and he's picked up the baton and run with it. I mean, he's on there the whole damn time. I mean, you can't turn on the internet without James Tusk is doing a live stream. Do you know what I mean? Like, you get up in the middle of the night to go to the loo, and it's like, bing, James Tusk is live. It's just like, but it's awesome what he's doing because it's very stripped down. It's very intimate. It's just him talking to the camera. There's no fancy tech. There's no, any of this stuff. We see some of our other colleagues in the space and they've got huge studios and things like that. There's none of that, but it's just him talking to the camera. But he's very engaging, of course. And what I really liked was the existential stuff that he's been doing, like that show he did where he was talking about find what you love and then do it till it kills you. I thought that was really good. He comes back and he's had a few whiskeys or whatever, and he's just talking to the camera at night. That's really cool. And I also liked the way he was doing them in these different places. Like he's like, hey guys, I'm in Mexico. Hey guys, I'm in Brazil. I've just come in from the party. This happened, that happened. Really cool. Really, really cool. And I quite like what he's doing now, which is why I'm doing this morning stream. Just getting on, doing a half-hour stint, talking to the camera, a bit of motivation, bit of news, bit of an update. It's like a radio show, isn't it? It's like listening to the radio. We get to a point, I certainly get to a point with different content creators where it's not even necessarily so much the substance of what they're saying. Yes, of course, the content, you want there to be some useful content in there, and there's usually some little nuggets that you can take away. But it's also just something to put on. It's just something to put on where you can listen to that person because you find that person engaging. So big fan of Tusk stuff at the moment. Also big fan of Fresh and Fit. Well, the rest of them, but anyway. Nina Kravitz is a bit slim for me. What? This is sacrilege. Nina Kravitz is awesome. Nina Kravitz I think is fantastic. I mean, maybe perhaps a little bit less so now, but I'm a big fan. And that sort of Russian look, that brunette look, as you say, slim, stylish, kind of sexy the way she dances when she's playing. Awesome stuff. Guys, if you don't know Nina Kravitz, look her up and you will see. Techno girls tend to be very attractive and very chill. That's true. I mean, Berghain itself in Berlin, as a sort of place to go and meet women, I don't know if I could recommend it as such, because I don't personally. I've never had any massive successes in there or anything like that. Well, actually, that's not true. That's not true. I have, but it's a strange environment, particularly if you go there on the Friday or early the Saturday night. Then it's quite cool because there's a lot of the more casual party goers there, and you can get into some conversations, particularly in the Panorama Bar area. But when it gets later, it's just so hardcore, and the people are just so off their head that you know, if you're not on that same wavelength, then you're going to find it. I think you're going to find it tricky. But that's just me. I know people have had a lot of success there, and there are some very beautiful women there for sure. I mean, it's not a glam sort of place. It's not a place like Bottles and Models or anything like that. Well, I'm sure there are models there, but it's not a sort of VIP type place, but completely the opposite of that. But it is very cool. So check it out when Berlin opens up again. Unknown saying morning. There's another one, Paula Temple from Lancashire. She's not as attractive as Nina, but I like her music. I don't know her. I'll have to check her out. Crypto crashing hard now. Don't I know it? Silver going up and up. Yeah, have to see what happens with that. I mean, I know people are pretty optimistic still, but let's see what happens on that. Thoughts on Todd Valentine's YouTube content? He's one of the OGs. Yeah, he's good. He's really, really good. You know, never met him, don't know him. But without a doubt, his stuff is really great. He knows what he's talking about. Very technical. It's very on point advice, which is all to the good. So yeah, definitely on board. He's a different kind of, I don't think I've ever been that sort of a content creator. Really, he's very technical. It's all very, very centered on advice. I think my trajectory is a little bit more existential. I tend to talk around the, I don't know, lifestyle in general, as opposed to that straightforward stuff. But being social, I just wanted to hammer home today, if there is one actionable takeaway from this, is that you need to do it. And you know, you're probably not going to be doing live streams, right, like this. But what you do need to be doing, and what I need to be doing, is going out and talking to everybody. It's going out. James was saying, first person you see in the morning, first person you see when you leave your house, say good morning, say hello. When you go into the shop, say hello, have a bit of a chat. When you buy your coffee, bit of a chat, get into that social vibe. The more that you're talking, the better. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't all need to be beautiful women. We're not talking about that. This is just socializing with anybody, because getting the motor running is the key thing, all right? And what I found, even as an introvert, was going to a nightclub. You don't feel like it necessarily at first, but you, again, this is acting in spite of your feelings. You don't feel like it at first. You don't feel like going and talking to some stranger who might tell you to F off. Of course, like who wants to do that? But you just do it anyway. And maybe the first few don't go very well. Maybe you do get told to F off. We probably won't get told to F off, but maybe you'll get some fairly abrupt, rejections or whatever. Well, fine. But that's part. It doesn't matter. That's part of the course. At the beginning, it's all warming up. Okay. Beginning, it's all warming up. Then later, you can start to transition it into something more. Later, you start to have slightly longer conversations. Maybe you make a compliment and then you make an observation, and off the back of that observation, you start talking about something, some subject matter. Okay. So, but at the beginning, it's all about just breaking the barrier. And I need to break the barrier every day. I mean, I'm a lot better than I was. I can kind of just go out. Like yesterday morning, I went out, hadn't spoken to anybody, went to have breakfast. There was somebody there I didn't expect to be there. And like I was saying earlier, used to find him quite a difficult character. That was absolutely fine, because I've kind of got momentum that's in the tank, because I've been doing this stuff regularly for a long time. But even still, I need to go out there and warm up. I need to do a few approaches that are going to be rubbish. I need to have a few conversations that just aren't going to go very well, because I'm rusty, because I'm in my head, because my voice is still in the back of my throat, So we all need to do the same thing. Unless you just happen to be a natural and you're just like bang on with this stuff the whole time. And if you are, congratulations. Maybe this isn't the right show for you, but that's awesome. That's fantastic. But if you're a bit like me, and I suspect many of us, even if you are extroverted, you need that warm-up process. You need to just go out there and break the back of it. Okay. And that's what I intend to do this morning. I go out there You talk to some people, get into that social mood. By the end of the day, you're kind of flying. You know, by the end of the day, or I say the end of the session, within about an hour, half an hour to an hour, you're going to be like on fire. Not literally, hopefully, but you're going to be socially on fire. And that's where you want to get to. That's what they call momentum. Okay. So the aim should be to get to the point of momentum as quickly as possible. And the only way you can do that is by taking the risk, taking those social risks, having those conversations, doing things socially that perhaps you find a little bit awkward, maybe going and speaking to 2 people, going and speaking to 3 people, going and speaking to a group, you know, going and speaking to someone who's more attractive than you would normally have the confidence to do, going and speaking to somebody who's high value in a particular situation. All of these things, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, really, really important. Kim Ambo says, keep it up, Troy. Motivational with some British humor. Thanks, mate. Very glad to hear that. I want to do some more shorter motivational stuff because we do a lot of existential rants on this channel that go on for hours and, you know, all the rest of it. And I love to do that stuff. But ultimately, I need to be inspiring you guys as well. And not more importantly, but equally for me, I need to be inspiring myself. So with a lot of this stuff, I'm saying it, I'm actually telling myself. Okay. So people are like, well, you know, who's that guy? Why has he got the right to tell us to do all this stuff? Well, in the main, I'm telling myself. Okay. It's not because I'm claiming to be on some kind of higher plane, because I'm clearly not. I'm telling myself because I need to get into this mindset myself. Any favorite place in Berlin to get a morning coffee? Well, I mean, my place in Berlin is in Neukölln. And so there are a number of coffee places around there that I just go to. They're not fancy like Turkish coffee places and things. On Hermannstrasse, there is, though, if you get to Prenzlauer Berg, oh God, what's the station? I think it's Rosenthaler Platz. If you get out at Rosenthaler Platz, I'm pretty sure it's that station. There's a really good place there that does coffee, and it's also like a co-working space. But I forget the name of it. But I think it's Rosenthaler Platz. So check that out. But around Prenzlauer Berg, there's some good places for sure. What else? Perfection. Some of your books on Amazon are not available, at least in Germany. Will they ever restock? I need to have a look at that, mate, actually. Let me have a look at that. I'm not quite sure why. So leave that with me, but thanks for letting me know. Or you can obviously get Renegade Dating Blueprint, which there should be a link for below. It's on Gumroad, but you get PDFs of all the books. So maybe have a look at that as well. Which is more difficult, doing day game in your 40s or 20s? It's a tricky one, that actually. I don't know. I mean, maybe your 20s. Maybe your 20s. It's a really tough one, that, because your 20s, you're maybe a little bit young, and your 40s, you know, are you getting into that stage where you're starting to get a little bit older than some of the women you're approaching and things like this? I mean, of course, I would say that that's not a problem, because I know many guys in their 40s and beyond who are social and, you know, have a great time. But your sweet spot is your 30s. So I think that's the key thing. Your 20s is the rehearsal for your 30s. You want to keep yourself in shape and, you know, kind of like relevant, so that then when you go into your 40s, you can keep that momentum going. That would be my take on it. Abundance is key. Print or none. Okay. Yeah. All right, mate. I'm not really sure. Let me have a look at it. Great breakfast show, brother. This is my friend in Germany. Hope you're well, sir. All right, guys. Anyway, listen, I'm going to leave it now because it's 9:39 and I've got to go out soon. Yeah, got to go out quite soon to meet Tusk and the guys. I will report back. I'll let you know how it's going. I've got a video going up later, just a clip of the conversation I had with Tristan Tate, like an excerpt from that. So watch that later. Do hit subscribe to the channel. Give me a like, thumbs up, or a thumbs down if you want. Give me a comment below and get on the waiting list for Dating Conversation Success. It comes out on the 27th of May. I'll drop the link in the chat below, but basically Dating Conversation Success is going to take you through all the different scenarios that you're going to encounter when you're socializing with women, predominantly in the daytime, but this stuff is also relevant at night as well, or whenever. It's giving you all the scenarios. It's giving you breakdown commentary of every scenario you're going to get. There's a PDF There's a whole online lecture video that tells you exactly the 12 principles of an effective conversation. There's a PDF guide as well. There's an audio book within it, narrated by Mr. Jack Napier. There's actually a little excerpt from that on this channel that you can have a look at as well. And what else? Oh, yes, and there's a guide to day game video presentation as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Not expensive this time. It's only at $150 if you get in the promotional period, which is the 27th to the 30th of May. So $150 just to get the course. There's some other prices if you want to go on some Zoom calls and things as well, but $150, it's a steal. It's awesome. Put blood, sweat, and tears into it. It's going to change the game for you this summer. So get on board, get on the waiting list below. And good luck out there. Thank you very much, sir. And I will leave it there for now, but I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.